We have looked at a lot of FNAF fan animations, and those are really great, but I wanted to branch out a bit and look at other types of creepy or unsettling animations, and one that I came across is a video called Bad Boy Oliver by a channel that goes by Mr. Friend. Don't let the thumbnail fool you, this one has some heavy themes and is overall really creepy. I wanted to look it over and break down its true meaning and the subtle details scattered across this fantastic animation. Of course, the original video is in the description, so check it out. Anyway, let's not waste any more time, let's begin. As you may know, I always love to read the descriptions at the videos. In this one, it says, Mr. Bobo is watching me. Always. And with that, let's begin the video. The video opens up with a forest scenery. A bus pulls up and the narrator introduces us to an 8-year-old boy named Oliver. He begins talking to Oliver, asking him if he knows the way to his destination from here. Oliver nods and it continues. We cut to a house of Oliver's aunt and uncle. The narrator explains how Oliver has not seen them in quite a while. He walks up to the door and knocks. He waits for a moment, looking at a cockroach walk by. The narrator also reminds him to not show bad manners. Another moment goes by and Oliver's aunt and uncle open the door, welcoming him into their home. They talk a bit and Oliver goes inside. Uncle Charles walks Oliver to his room, but Oliver is instantly shocked, not because of how the room looks, but what's inside of it. We cut to this tall mouse cat thing that sits on a drawer with a smile on its face. Uncle Charles explains to Oliver that its name is Mr. Bobo, a childhood toy that Uncle Charles and Oliver's father loved to play with when they were younger. Uncle Charles lets Oliver settle in his room. Oliver takes a long look at Mr. Bobo, who's giving off unsettling vibes, as he sits on the drawer with his arms at his side and that smile on his face. As night rolls around, we see Oliver sleeping. Everything is peaceful, the night is quiet, and everything is fine, until Mr. Bobo decides to get up from the drawer. Oliver wakes up and looks around the room to see that Mr. Bobo is gone. In a state of fear, Oliver reassures himself that it's just a dream, trying to go back to sleep. We then see the shadow of Mr. Bobo move around. We then see Mr. Bobo himself standing over Oliver's bed, watching him sleep. Oliver is in a state of fear and panic. He tries to fall asleep, repeating to himself that it's not real. Eventually, Oliver falls asleep. We cut to the morning and Oliver is safe and sound in bed. He looks at Mr. Bobo, who's in the exact spot Oliver last saw him in. The day continues and Oliver is playing with his favorite toy, but he feels really uncomfortable as Mr. Bobo's presence is looming over him. Oliver takes a long look at him and finally overcomes his fear by telling Mr. Bobo, "I'm not scared of you, Mr. Bobo. You're just a silly doll. You're not real." With this, Oliver throws his toy truck at him, knocking Mr. Bobo. Oliver apologizes for hurting him, noticing something off about Mr. Bobo. A red light is seen blinking from one of his eyes. Oliver removes the eye, and we see a camera that is recording Oliver. Oliver, in such disbelief, cannot comprehend why Mr. Bobo has a camera in his eye in the first place. We then cut to the camera's perspective, and it confirms that it is in fact recording Oliver. All of a sudden, Uncle Charles opens the door. Oliver asks him why there's a camera in Mr. Bobo. Uncle Charles ignores him, and with a dead look on his face, tells Oliver that he hurt Mr. Bobo, and that is a bad thing to do. He then tells Oliver the following: "If you had just played quiet and had been a good boy, I wouldn't have to do this." With this, Uncle Charles walks into the room and shuts the door. We faintly hear Oliver, still confused, say, "Uncle Charles?" We cut to the basement now, and we see Oliver hanging by his arms with chains attached to the wall. Oliver doesn't move or say a word. We see Mr. Bobo sitting on a chair slouched over next to Oliver's favorite toy. The camera slowly zooms in on Mr. Bobo as it cuts to black, ending the video. Now, this tape had a lot to look at. First, starting off in the beginning, if you notice, we had a narrator who was guiding us and telling us what was happening with Oliver. They had this communication going on as if Oliver himself knew the narrator was there, keeping him company, and also keeping an eye on him. But as Oliver arrives and eventually goes into the house, the narrator stops. The watchful eye is gone. The one that looked out for Oliver is now left outside. Furthermore, even the camera, the slight zoom in on the door is the narrator wanting to go inside with Oliver to make sure he's safe, but that isn't the case. Now, the elephant in the room, or should I say the nightmare in the room, Mr. Bobo. What is Mr. Bobo? Well, if we take Uncle Charles' explanation, he says the following: "That's Mr. Bobo. Your father and I used to adore him when we were children. We could have sworn he had a mind of his own at times." Mr. Bobo is in fact a toy, but he is a decoy for the hidden camera in his eye. The fact that Mr. Bobo has existed for at least 30 to maybe 40 years is crazy, maybe even longer than that, since Uncle Charles and Oliver's dad had him when they were children. But if Mr. Bobo is a toy, how does he move when he watches Oliver sleep? Well, I have some theories on this. The first is Mr. Bobo is a controlled animatronic that somehow can be controlled remotely in another area of the house. He can walk and climb, but this theory is a little shaky because when Oliver hit him with his favorite truck, Mr. Bobo is in a ragdoll position. Now, how would metal rods and wires just move so loosely like that? The second theory is that Oliver was in fact having a nightmare and Mr. Bobo was perhaps taken out of Oliver's room in the middle of the night for maintenance by Uncle Charles. Since Oliver didn't see him sitting on the shelf, he also didn't see him anywhere else in the room. Next, when Oliver does discover that Mr. Bobo has a hidden camera, when looking at the recording, we can see that there's at least 6 other cams, meaning 5 other ones, or maybe even more than that. Oliver has just discovered this one. But why? Why are Uncle Charles and Aunt Pat watching him? Well, we never get an explanation. Oliver asks this question to Uncle Charles, but he doesn't respond. He's mad that Oliver's hurt Mr. Bobo, and in doing so, locks Oliver in the basement, perhaps killing him or just knocking him out, because at the end, Oliver is seen not moving or speaking, and Mr. Bobo is just there watching him. So, I think that Oliver is still alive, and they just don't want him to escape. It is in fact a dark video, but the intentions of the aunt and uncle are hinted throughout this tape. For a brief moment, the narrator returns when Oliver is playing with his toy truck. He says the following: Oliver spent the day playing with his favorite toy while his aunt and uncle worked in the basement. Now, when he says worked, I believe he also means prepping up the basement and getting ready to put Oliver in there. I feel like the uncle wanted Oliver to be curious about Mr. Bobo so that when Oliver eventually figures out and sees the camera, they can punish him. But like I said, when it comes down to the root of it, why hurt Oliver? What did he do wrong? The answer? Nothing. The uncle and the aunt are just cruel people who wanted to hurt Oliver. Now, potentially, the uncle himself could have been a victim to abuse from his own father, along with Oliver's dad. Maybe the uncle was the only one who was punished and not Oliver's dad, so maybe he feels angry that he had to go through so much pain. He wanted revenge on his brother, so he took it out on his son, Oliver. You know, I want to say I really liked this tape. I thought it was well done and it was really enjoyable. There were no jump scares, but you always feel like one's coming. It's creepy and disturbing. I feel so bad for Oliver. That just shows you that Mr. Friend did a great job on this. I highly recommend you watch it. I would like to see a sequel here where Oliver wakes up and tries to escape this torment, getting revenge on his uncle and aunt, but that probably won't happen. Anyway, still a great video. I just wanted to say thank you so much for watching. Please go check out some of my other videos. I broke down a lot of FNAF videos. Check them out. And thanks for all the subs, the views, and the likes. It truly does mean a lot to me. So thank you so much for that. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.